From the Rogers Centre in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, it's time for White Sox baseball as the Sox take on the Jays, as the Sox hit the road for the first of 11 games in 10 days. Hi, this is Chuck Swirsky for the Hawk and Harrelson, joined by Steve Stone. Steve, I am looking forward to working with you. It's an absolute joy to talk some baseball with you for the next week and a half. And let's talk about the White Sox in this road trip as Robin Ventura is looking for consistency at the plate, but also on the mound.
He's handing the ball to Hector Nuese, who's getting back in the starting rotation. And the last time we saw him in a starting role, it didn't end too well for him. He was pitching against Cincinnati back on May 9th. First time he saw Hamilton, he got him out. Then he struck out Jay Bruce. Then Hamilton comes up and hits a rocket off his hip. And after consultation with Herm Schneider, they decided that that would be it. So unfortunately for Hector, who had been throwing the ball pretty well, his starting career was interrupted for the moment. That's what it looked like the last time out. We saw him in relief against Cleveland. He gets the ball here tonight. And hopefully for Hector, he can throw the ball well. We worry about control. Last time we saw him, he was up 96, 97 miles an hour. But when you haven't started in a while, control is a factor.
Absolutely. Now for Toronto, Steve, they got a lot of moving parts, do they not?
One slugger's in the lineup, one slugger's out of the lineup. Encarnacion is in the lineup. That's always a problem because he not only is a slugger, but he's a run producer. You can see 32 runs driven in. Jose Bautista is out of the lineup. Took a cortisone shot in his shoulder. He's having today off. That's good for the Sox because Bautista is a real good one. One of the guys who was back in the lineup for the first time is Jose Reyes. And at the top of the order, he gives you speed, he gives you defense, and he gives you occasional pop. He had a rib problem, and they took an x-ray and found out not only was it inflamed, but there was a little crack in there. And so what they thought was an oblique problem turned into a crack, put him on the DL. He is back now. And this is a guy at the top that makes everything go beneath him. He's a table setter, and when he's setting the table well, this is a good offense. They haven't scored as many runs as they would like, but they believe they're going to be in it. Robin believes the Sox are going to be in it. This should be an interesting series.
Absolutely. The first of three here in Toronto. Chuck Swirsky, Steve Stone. First pitch next.
Arpai, your Chicago area and Northwest Indiana Lexus dealer, who invites you to test drive a Lexus today. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois, through it all. Audi, truth in engineering. Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. And by Toyota. See where Toyota takes you. Test drive one at your Toyota dealer. Toyota, let's go places.
Welcome back to the ballpark in Toronto. There's an artificial surface. It's a brand new surface, and the roof is open, something that doesn't happen too often. It has been very lively as you look at the starting pitcher, Drew Hutchison. He's had some problems in the early going, but he's got a good arm, and we'll see how it plays out tonight as the Blue Jays take the field. Let's take a look at how Robin is going to line up our Sox tonight. Adam Eaton leading it off with Gordon Beckham in the 2 spot in a shakeup of the lineup. Melky Cabrera is hitting in the 3 spot against the team that once fed him. Jose Abreu hitting cleanup, and Adam LaRoche is the DH with Avisail Garcia in right field. Lexi Ramirez at shortstop. Gio Soto gets a nod behind the plate. Emilio Bonifacio is at second base, and he's hitting 9th. The defense, and it's a pretty good one. Chris Colabello in left field. Kevin Pillar is in center, and Ezekiel Carrera in right. Josh Donaldson, who you might remember from Oakland, is at third base. Jose Reyes back in the lineup at short. Ryan Goins at second base. Justin Smoke is at first. Russell Martin, their $82 million catcher, is behind the plate. And Drew Hutchison on for his 10th start. He's 3-1, but his ERA up over 6. He throws a slider. He's got a pretty good fastball, but it is straight. The umpires for the game this evening: Andy Fletcher behind the plate. Paul Emmel is at first. Jordan Baker is at second, and the crew chief Jerry Meals is at third. So Toronto comes into this not really having the kind of year they expected. They're in last place, but only 4.5 games in back of Tampa. They're 20-26. They've lost 7 of their last 10, but at home they're over 500. They're 12-11. And the Sox come in looking for a little more consistent offense. So we're ready to play baseball. I'm ready to turn it over to my play-by-play partner, pinch hitting for Ken Harrelson, Chuck Swirsky.
All right, Stephen, thank you, and good evening. Always a pleasure, Adam Eaton. This is the first time, folks, Eaton has ever faced Hutchison. Out of Lakeland, Florida, Hutchison is 6'3", 195, and we're underway here in Toronto in a cold strike. Eaton had a base hit, went a 4 yesterday, and the Sox lost to Minnesota. By the way, Steve, Minnesota went again today. They're on fire. They won 16 games, the Twins have, in the month of May.
Twins, for whatever reason, have started to believe in themselves. And when a team has that kind of belief, you go out there every day anticipating you're going to win, and they've been doing a good job of it.
Here's the 1-1 pitch, fouled off. 1-2 to Adam Eaton. Eaton on the season, homer, 4 RBIs, batting .237. He has hit safely in 11 of his last 12 games.
Where Hutchison has had a problem is a hitter leading off an inning. They're hitting .394 against him. That's the worst in baseball.
And he swings and misses and struck him out. White Sox have been outscored, Steve, 34-11 in first innings. Just hard to figure.
I think when the team is slumping, Chuck, and they're slumping offensively, it's across the board. You look at the individual statistics, you wonder quite how they got there, and we'll have to see if they can turn it around with a different lineup this evening.
Yes. And speaking of a different lineup, Beckham hitting second, playing third base, takes inside. Beckham started Thursday against the Indians, but he's been so valuable for Robin Ventura and the ball club, Steve, as you know, late defensive replacement at third. Hutchison, the delivery, catches the outside corner.
It's not easy for a guy who was used to playing every day, and Gordon played every day for a long time, to suddenly adopt that utility role, but Gordon has taken to it pretty well.
There's a slap foul off to the right.
You're going to see some great center field in Kevin Pillar. He throws well. He can really go get him alley to alley. But the Sox are going to run on both Colabello and Carrera at the corners.
Yeah, we're going to talk about their outfield. It's in a state of flux. Here's Beckham right through the middle for a base hit for the White Sox. You know, Steve, when you're not hitting, as the White Sox will chronicle, you know, what are the ramifications? What are the different layers that it affects the ball club?
What it does, Chuck, is it puts a lot of pressure on the pitching staff, certainly, the defense to not make any mistakes, and then consequently you wind up making more. You know, good offense can hide a whole lot of things, and if you're not scoring a lot of runs, every little thing becomes a major thing in a ball game and winds up costing you those games.
Melky Cabrera, the former Jay, spent a couple of seasons here. Hits went off to the left. Cabrera talked with John Gibbons, the manager of the Blue Jays, prior to the ball game against Cabrera. He loved him, Steve. He said that he never got too high, not too low, always played hard. Great guy in the locker room, in the clubhouse. And he also hit .299 here at the Rogers Center in 2 seasons.
Yeah, I think they're somewhat surprising that it's not a real good year so far for Melky, but he's going to turn things around. He's too good a hitter to stay this way.
Another foul. Cabrera, homer, 15 RBIs, batting .239. This is a Jays ball club picked by many at the start of the season to contend for the AL East, and they're still in the hunt despite being under 500.
Yeah, Chuck, you know, when you look at the East and you realize that it's not near as tough as it's been in years past, any team can win it. And that's what John Gibbons is hoping. I mean, you look at it, New York doesn't have a pitching. They were a 500 team coming into today. They killed Kansas City 14-1 today. But Boston not playing like they can. A lot of people picked them. They're under 500. Baltimore certainly not playing well.
There's a bouncing ball. Reyes bobbles but recovers and throws out Cabrera. But Reyes covers a lot of ground.
Let's take a look at our picks to click. And Hawk is going to take Sherm Lawler. Oh, no, that's right. That's Chuck sitting in for Hawk is going to take Gordon Beckham. Of course, he got the pick after Gordon got a base hit. I'm taking Melky, coming back and try to terrorize the team that he played for. And the crew is taking Alexi Ramirez.
See, I was hoping to take Luke Appling, Steve. Come on.
You can take. Well, you can have both. I tell you what, we give you 2 picks tonight.
Jose Abreu with a smash, but right there on the edge of the outfield, and that's going to do it here for the White Sox. They're retired. We go to the bottom of the first in Toronto in a moment.
It's going to be Reyes, Donaldson, and Encarnacion at the top with Martin, Falabella, and Smoke in the middle, Carrera, Pilar, and Goins rounding it out. The defense and how they'll line up behind Hector Nuese. Cabrera, Eaton, and Garcia in the outfield with Beckham, Ramirez, Bonifacio, and Abreu in the infield. Giovanni Soto gets a nod behind the plate, and our Lexus pursuing perfection starting pitcher is Hector Nuese.
And Reyes takes the cold, strike one. Reyes, a 4-time All-Star, as Steve mentioned in the opener, suffered a cracked rib on April 27th. Just getting back, spent 3 games in rehab in the International League in Buffalo. And Reyes, part of that blockbuster trade. Remember, he spent 9 years with the Mets, went over to the Miami Marlins, only 1 season, signed that mammoth contract, then came over along with Bonifacio and Burley to Toronto for a boatload of prospects. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Fouled off.
What the Marlins were trying to do in that deal was unload a whole lot of cash in contracts that they probably used, by the way, to get the new stadium, and then realized that eventually it was going to choke them. So they gave themselves some salary leverage, and of course signed Stanton for $325 million.
Yeah, good point. Here's Reyes down the right field line, curving foul. Reyes, 4 years left at $22 million a year. But I'll tell you what, Steve, as we mentioned, he covers a lot of ground defensively.
He's a very solid player. The fact of the matter is that Ryan Goins, the second baseman, is a better shortstop than Reyes, but he doesn't have that $22 million salary. So Reyes is going to play shortstop. And now Gio is going out there. He wants a word with Hector. They want to make sure that the signs are straight. You can save yourself a whole lot of problems by keeping Reyes off first base to lead off an inning.
Oh, 2 pitch. You know, you talk about what's going on here with Toronto, and Steve, you see the fact that their outfield, they've had a lot of injuries. Saunders is out. They were counting on him. He came over from Seattle. They can get some healthy bodies. There's Reyes returning to the lineup, and that ball is headed to the ball. Reyes makes the big turn, goes to second, and puts on the brakes. Look at that.
Welcome back to the lineup, Jose Reyes, and unfortunately that's an ominous way to start the ball game for a team that is not scoring a whole lot of runs, as the Sox aren't. This is a slider. It's down, and Reyes able to get out in front of it. They're not going to run too much on the arm of Avi. The knee is not 100%, but he felt like he wanted to play tonight and convinced Robin Ventura that he was healthy enough. After consultation with Herm Schneider, they both agreed, and here he is in the lineup.
Leadoff double for Reyes. Donaldson at the plate. Josh came over from Oakland. Talk about major trades for Brett Laurie. Donaldson, 9 homers, 28 RBIs. Noesi gets the sign from Soto. And here is the 1-0 pitch.
One of the big factors in that trade, Chuck, was a pitcher by the name of Graveman, who was in the starting rotation for Oakland. They got 4 players for Donaldson, and the reason they made the deal was that Donaldson was at the point where he was going to start to make a whole lot of money, and if they kept him one more year, he would be 30 years old making $10 million. They felt that getting quantity back, and Lowry was a lot younger, and Graveman was a pretty good pitcher. They got 2 others. That's the kind of trade that Oakland is forced to make.
You know, when you look at what's happened here with Donaldson, I think, you know, he said he was surprised when he got the call from Billy Beane.
I don't blame him. Donaldson is a terrific player, was one of the best defensive third basemen in baseball.
2-1 pitch with Reyes at second for the Jays. Outside with 3-1.
A lot of people don't know that Donaldson, originally a second-round draft pick with the Chicago Cubs as a catcher. And nobody ever dreamt that he could move as smoothly as he did into third base, but he made himself a great third baseman, and now, obviously, he's a run producer.
Noesi checks the runner at second, and the delivery high. And the Jays, their first 2 men are on base. With Reyes with a leadoff double now, Donaldson walks. And Edwin Encarnacion, he's just getting better and better. He is a professional hitter. He is 3rd in the American League in homers with 12. Nelson Cruz of Seattle leads with 17. He is 4th, Steve, in RBIs with 32.
Now, this guy, year after year, since coming up with Cincinnati, he's gotten to be a prolific slugger. He loves this ballpark. By the way, this ballpark is very lively, whether the roof is open or closed. This year, the ball is flying out of here.
Swing and a miss. He came over from the Reds in 2009 for Scott Rowland, who was in the twilight of a great career. But Encarnacion, who's been hampered by some back issues along with some knee problems, but this man knows how to hit the baseball. There is no doubt about that.
34 home runs last year in just 477 at-bats.
There's going to be a meeting on the mound, Steve. What do you think they're talking about here? Is it a sign situation?
I think a couple of different things. Number one, because Encarnacion can hit the ball all over. I think what Alexi wants to know is, are you going to throw him some sliders? Are you going to try to jam him with a fastball? Because if you are, then I'll move over toward the hole and close the hole between Ramirez and Beckham. However, if you're going to try throwing him sliders away, then I'll have a tendency to drift more up the middle, and we'll figure out then who you're going to throw to. It looks like they're going to play him as a pull hitter, and on a ball hit back to him, they're going to throw it to Bonifacio covering at second.
And Noesi, and a 1-1 count right now to the third hitter in the inning, Edwin Encarnacion. It's going to be his 14th pitch here in the bottom of the first. Two and one.
One of the things you worried about, because Hector has not started since May 9th, is spotting all of his pitches. Not necessarily throwing a lot of balls, just being wild in the strike zone. You don't have that feel if you haven't been out there.
Fouled off. I was speaking with Don Cooper prior to the ball game, and he was saying that he wants to get somewhere 7 innings would be a bonus for Noesi, and that was echoed by Robin Ventura. Don Cooper was hoping to get maybe 100, 110 out of Hector.
The only way to get 7 is for him to start nailing it down. He could use a double play ground ball. And that one just missed inside.
And it's 3-2.
Fastball was 96, and Encarnacion loves to hit fastballs. He's also hit 7 home runs in his last 52 plate appearances. And that is 13.5%, which is double league average.
3-2 pitch, nobody out here. And ground ball up the middle, the flip for 1, 2. Right on cue.
He's safe at second base.
Oh, he's safe.
Yeah, that was the fancy twirl where a twirl wasn't necessary. And
we're going to have a challenge here.
Jordan Baker said he didn't touch the bag. Now, Robin is going to come out. Hopefully, he dragged part of the foot over the bag, and we'll take another look at it. As this ball is hit off the end of the bat, Bonifacio on the flip to Ramirez, who decides that he wants to do the twirl, and he misses the bag. And in a situation where just a normal pivot at second would work, that one doesn't work. And that is a huge non-tag.
So the Jays, as Robin Ventura talking with the umpire, trying to get a final decision here, and I think he went over, looked at the dugout and said, I'm not going to win this one.
Yeah, that's it. Well, he was just waiting to see if he got a thumbs up or thumbs down from Mark Parent, and unfortunately, as we saw in the replay, the fancy twirl did not work.
So we have one out here in the bottom of the first, and the Jays with runners at second and third. Russell Martin at the plate. Steve mentioned Martin coming over as a free agent, signed that big deal, $82 million over 5 years. He was born here in Toronto and then grew up in Montreal. And the pitch is ball 1. Martin, a terrific player, as you know, Steve. I mean, he calls it great game. Pitchers love him.
That's one of the reasons why they brought him over here and gave him 5 years to handle a pitching staff and get it back on the right path.
Rounded to third, check of the runner, across the diamond, and Abreu gives it back to his pitcher, Hector Noesi. Chris Colabello now stepping in for the Jays. Colabello, talk about, bonus. They weren't counting on him. He started the year in with the ball club. They sent him down. He was the International Player of the Month for April. And then, Steve, they recalled him, and he is tearing the cover off the ball.
Well, you might remember him, you fans, from Minnesota, where he played one of the corners in the outfield. He used to hit the ball exclusively to right and right center field. Now he's hitting the ball all over, and he's just hitting the daylights out of it.
That's a base hit up the middle for Colabello. And just like that, the Jays have jumped on the White Sox here in the bottom of the first.
Chuck, you asked early about the ramifications of an offense that isn't in high gear. And what happens when you have a defensive play that isn't made, almost invariably it comes back to haunt you. This is RBIs 11 and 12 for Colabello. This inning should be over. It should have been a very easy double play. It wasn't. The inning is alive, and it's 2-0 Jays.
So Justin Smoke takes a ball. Smoke, when he first came in with Texas, he had the promise of having a very nice career. Has also played for Seattle. Very good defensive first baseman. Also DH. This is hit deep to right. Garcia at the track. Looks up. This is gone.
Third home run of the year. RBIs 9 and 10 for Justin Smoke. And just like that, the Blue Jays lead 4-0. Our fourth home run replay. It's a fastball up and didn't make it by much. It doesn't have to. It's only about 335 at that point. It made it by enough.
So Carrera will step in as the White Sox have surrendered 4 first inning runs to Toronto.
Carrera's been around a lot of different places. He's always been able to go get him in the outfield. He doesn't throw very well, but he's gotten some big hits for this Blue Jay team.
Pitch inside. Carrera has played for Cleveland, Philadelphia, Detroit last year. Out of Venezuela. 1-1 count with 2 outs. Jays with a 4-0 lead. Here's the pitch. Foul tip. Strike 2. Ball's hit deep in left field for a base hit.
That one snuck under the glove of Ramirez, so Carrera is on. That's 4th hit of the inning. This ball's out of the strike zone. You see on Menard's pitch tracks that Carrera went out. He was in full protection mode, and he just tapped the ball through the left side.
Yep. Stroked it deep on that left side of the infield. So then, once again, the Jays with a runner on, 2 outs, 4-0 Toronto. Pilar at the plate. A tremendous defensive player.
Well, the guy who made this team out of spring training was a youngster and a fellow Canadian to Russell Martin, and that was Dalton Pompey. They expected that he was going to get it done. It didn't work out that way, as so many youngsters find out. He had to go back down, trying to straighten things out, and not doing very well at this point. But every situation provides an opportunity, and this opportunity went to Pilar, and he's done a very good job of it.
Hitting .130 over the past 7 games. 1 homer, 16 RBIs, batting .225 overall. Here's the 1-0 pitch. Fell back. Steve, what have you seen from Noesi here in the bottom of the first as far as control and whatnot?
Well, he's throwing harder than he did when he was in the starting rotation. But the problem is a lot of his fastballs are up. That's to be expected because he's had so long between starts. We talked about that off the top. That's what you worry about, is lack of location. That being said, there should be no runs this inning. He should have gotten out, and he should have been watching Hutchison try to subdue the Sox offense. As it turned out, it didn't work out that way. Cost him a lot of pitches and 4 runs.
There's a pop-up behind the plate. Gio Soto with the grab. And this inning has come to an end, but the Jays on the board 4-0 over the White Sox. White Sox talk. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at CSN White Sox. Chuck Swirsky, Steve Stone. We go to the top of the second inning here in Toronto after the Jays put 4 on the board in the bottom of the first on 4 hits.
Hutchison throws a slider, and it's a bigger breaking slider than most. He has a changeup, which is pretty much a work in progress. He depends on a fastball and moving it in and out. But this year he's had some problems with that. However, his team has scored him a lot of runs, as John Gibbons told me before the game, and we're seeing it again here tonight.
Adam LaRoche at the plate. LaRoche, I was reading comments following yesterday's ball game, Steve, and he took ownership as far as what's going on, said that, they got to get this thing going here. Didn't point the finger, just really solid leadership. Slices down the left field line.
Well, Adam would certainly like to be hitting the ball a bit better than he's hitting it, but one thing he is doing, and he's doing with regularity, which is something that nobody else is doing on this club, and that is he's drawing walks. And he's drawn 26 of them. The next closest is 12, and that's Melky. So when you don't draw walks, it means that you're going to need an awful lot of hits in a rally to get things going. Because usually a couple of walks and you can put some runs up.
2-2 on LaRoche. Coming in for homers, 16 RBIs, batting .213.
That last pitch was way off the outside corners. That was very much a break for Hutchison.
And we'll swing it at us.
You see where the 4 is, that's off the outside corner, but the last pitch, a high fastball, that's where they want to throw it to Adam, and he threw it right by him. So Hutchison's got a good fastball. He just has to refine that slider and get a consistent break with it.
Here's Garcia. Nice piece of hitting there. Single to right. And with the White Sox having a runner on with 1 out here in the top of the second. Setting the table now for Ramirez.
Nice to see Avi in the lineup because he's been swinging the bat consistently. He got a fastball down the middle, took it the opposite way. And the one thing that he's been able to do, and he's still understanding that he's a very young hitter, he's been able to use the whole field.
You got to see an opportunity over the season, the young season. We're at the quarter mark on Memorial Day weekend, and I'm still expecting with the weather here for Garcia really to just unload.
Well, he's understanding how to use his power, and the power is going to come to him. He eventually is going to be a 30-plus homer guy. It's just going to take him a while.
Ramirez with an 1-0 count, and we're at 1-1. Toronto with a 4-0 lead here in the top of the second. This is the first of 3 here in Toronto. Then it's on to Baltimore for a doubleheader. Hutchison just misses on that. 2-1. Speaking of Baltimore, they beat Houston today, handed Keuchel his first loss.
Dallas was 6-0 coming into that ball game. Lost 4-3.
The ground ball to short. Reyes, Goins. That'll do it. Go to the bottom of the second. Jays 4-0.
Chicago.
Chuck Swirsky, Steve Stone. We've got a change, Steve, in right field.
Well, unfortunately, apparently the knee of Avi Garcia, which was giving him some trouble, continued to flare up on him, and J.B. Shuck has taken over in right field. He'll hit in Avi's spot in the batting order. And if we get any type of update on Avi, we will let you know.
Ryan Goins at the plate. Goins, an exceptional defensive infielder, can play multiple positions. Chop to first. We're going to call it foul ball.
Now that call belongs to Andy Fletcher, and the reason is that it was in front of the bag. Andy Fletcher is the man that had to call it foul. If it goes beyond the bag, then it becomes a call of Paul Emmel, the first base umpire.
Goins batting .248 on the season. He was a pitcher and a position player at Dallas Baptist, and he was a 4th round pick in 2009.
He's also absolutely a magician with the glove. Again, a lifetime shortstop, and a better shortstop than Jose Reyes, but doing a great job at second base.
2-2. And when you say he's a better shortstop, in what way, Steve?
I think in every way. I think he is quicker to both sides. I think he has as good, if not a better, an arm. I think he's got better hands. It's just that, you know, you got a $22 million shortstop who's a catalyst to your offense in the leadoff spot, and he's a lifetime shortstop. He's going to play shortstop. So he's one of the stars of the team, and I think it's too late in the career of Jose Reyes to start to teach him second base. They think it's much better off to shift over Goins, and at least defensively, it's paid a lot of dividends for him.
2-2 pitch. Struck him out.
Now diving back into first base on a pickoff attempt, Avi is not really happy, number one, because he wasn't taking much of a lead. And he's looking out at Hutchinson going, I got a 3-foot lead and you're throwing it back. So I think the knee gave him some problems, and he told Hermie and Robin, and they took him out of the ball game.
Reyes at the plate. He led off the ball game with a double. Reyes returning after that cracked rib. He goes the opposite way, and it's a foul ball.
That's really been the only thing in the career of Jose Reyes that's been able to stop him, and that's been injuries, and he's had a lot of them. He's had various leg injuries, and other than that, you're looking at a guy that has as much talent as anybody around.
Nice play. Beckham got him.
That was a big effort by Gordon Beckham going to his left. Now, Gordon is a lifetime shortstop who we saw make a name for himself defensively at second. But he's played an outstanding third base, gets up quickly, knowing that Reyes can really run. And he's able to get him at first base. Nice stretch and keeping the foot on the bag by Jose at first, and good play on both ends.
So Donaldson, with his second appearance and his many innings, Donaldson, I didn't realize this, Steve, until I was going through some notes. He has finished in the top 10 in MVP voting the past 2 seasons. Top 10 in twice, back-to-back years.
I don't think a lot of people recognize the name Josh Donaldson and equate that with a great player because he's been in Oakland. But you put him in a Yankee uniform, give him the same exact numbers, and all of a sudden people are talking about him. Maybe instead of in the top 10, he's in the top 5 both of those years because he's had some big numbers and he's played a spectacular third base.
It's a well-hit ball. And Donaldson has just homered. Josh Donaldson delivers a home run ball to right center field. Donaldson's 10th of the season.
Donaldson is now driven in 29. We told you that this is a guy that is among baseball's best. He absolutely crush this ball. The Ford home run replay, it's a fastball. It's down the middle of the plate. It's belt high, and it's gone. This is a very lively ballpark. This year, more than any other year, for whatever reason, it's real lively. And when a right-hander hits it that far, it's a blast.
Deep fly ball to center field is going to be caught. And that's going to end the inning. But the Jays once again on the board. It's 5-0 after 2.
The game brought to you by Miller Lite.
Soto, Bonifacio, and Eaton here in the top of the third in Toronto. It's 5-0 Blue Jays. Hutchison with the delivery. Sergio Soto.
And you might be recognizing a different voice as a play-by-play man. It's Chuck Swirsky, a great basketball broadcaster. He's pinch hitting for Hawk Harrelson. Hawk going through some minor surgery. Now, there's no truth to the rumor that when Hawk comes back, he's going to look like Brad Pitt. This is just a minor bit of surgery.
This ball's tagged on the track. Beautiful catch and run down by Pilar.
Join us at U.S. Cellular Field for an exciting White Sox baseball season. The Pick 7 plan offers fans a flexible plan that features savings off individual game tickets. Plans start as low as $55. For tickets or more information, visit whitesox.com or call 312-674-1000.
Bonifacio at the plate. Steve, what have you seen out of him early in this season?
I think it's hard for him to get as much playing time as he would like to stay sharp. But that being said, this is one of the reasons why Robin is playing him tonight. For your bench players, you got to get them 4 or 5 at bats in a game every now and then. Otherwise, when you do call on them late in the ball game, they're not going to be ready to go. And Bonifacio gives you a lot of flexibility. He can play a lot of different places, and as a switch hitter, he'll be better than he's been in the early going.
2-1 count. When Rick Hahn picked him up in the offseason, I thought that was a great, under the radar acquisition. I've always been a big fan of his.
He's been a pretty good player. And there are times when he's been an everyday player. And I think one of the pickups by Rick Hahn that is still proving to be a good pickup was Gordon Beckham. And thinking that he could play the role of a swing player because he had never really done that before, and you don't know. And in talking with a couple of teammates of mine who had a swing player role, they told me that the key is acceptance.
Hutchison threw some gas there.
There was some high heat in that strikeout number 3. That's where you'd love to throw a high fastball on the inner portion and throw it by him.
So with 2 outs, Eaton at the plate. Eaton struck out in the first to lead off the ball game. He's been in the clubhouse over the past couple of days, watching, speaking to Adam Eaton. What a fiery type of individual. You know, he has great leadership qualities.
I think for him, the frustration is he hit 300 last year. I mean, he was a really good player, one of the keys offensively to this ball club, and he's off to a slow start. But he's a better player than he's shown. He was very frustrated missing that ball in center field on the line drive yesterday, but he not only is a good center fielder, but he's really a good leadoff hitter. He just hasn't shown it yet.
3-1 count. Hutchison with the delivery. Going to be a fly ball to left field. That'll do it. Hutchison, he's got it going. We'll be right back. Sports Talk TV program in town weekdays at 9 on Comcast Sportsnet.
Russell Martin's going to lead it off, and one of the things that I like about Russell Martin, and have always liked about him, this year it's especially evident. He's averaging 4.62 pitches per plate appearance with runners in scoring position, meaning that he's taking his time picking out his pitch. That ranks second with 216 full-time players in all of baseball. So Russell Martin was brought here to impart his leadership, to handle the pitching staff, and to hit in the clutch, and that's something that he's been doing.
Outside, and he's also been very, very durable, Steve. From 2006 to 2014, he has caught more innings than any other catcher in the big leagues.
Not surprising. He keeps himself in great shape. I talked with him over the winter time. He lives in Scottsdale. We wound up having coffee together a couple of times. He hadn't signed yet. He didn't know that that big contract was in the offing, but being a Canadian, he certainly loved the fact that he got 5 years. And he came up here, and he's been a wonder for this team. I mean, this is a guy that gives you leadership, played with some pretty good Dodger teams. And I talked to him about durability, and he said he felt he could catch 135 games a year and stay strong. And he doesn't catch R.A. Dickey, so there's a break there.
So, Steve, when you go into a season, if you're a manager, how many games for a, an average, above average catcher do you want to have per season as far as games played?
Ideally, if he's going to be a horse like Russell, you're thinking about 135. I remember years ago I talked with Gary Carter, who was a wonderful catcher, and I asked him the same thing. How many games can you catch effectively without having a decrease in production? And he said 135. And John Gibbons was a catcher, didn't play in the major leagues much. But
that caught the corner.
Yeah, it caught the corner if the corner was extended a bit. And Russell Martin, although he can't be too vociferous with Andy Fletcher, he knows that pitch probably was a touch outside. Menard's pitch tracks will show you that Russell thought he was heading to first base. Instead, he's heading to the dugout.
Colabello at the plate now with one out in the bottom of the third with the Jays. They got 4 in the first, 1 in the second. Jays winners yesterday of the Mariners. Saw some of that series. Steve, and Seattle, they've got some nice young players on that ball club.
Seattle's going to play a whole lot better than they've been playing, and when you take a look at the West and realize that Houston's leading by a wide margin, you have to believe that the way that Seattle team is constructed, if they get any pitching at all, they're going to be right there. I believe that that division is going to be turned topsy-turvy before it's over. I can't believe Houston is going to continue to play this well. And I can't believe that Seattle is going to continue to play this poorly.
So you think basically Houston's going to wake up one morning and say, what are we doing here?
No, I think they're a good team, but I think they might be a year away from domination. Now, they could prove me wrong, but I just believe that Seattle's a lot better team, and I think Los Angeles is better than they played.
1-2 pitch. Abreu with a play, and he makes the catch. So Colabello fouls out to Abreu. It's 2 outs.
Celebrate Italian Heritage Night presented by Beggar's Pizza when the Sox play the Detroit Tigers on Friday, June 5th. It's Italian Heritage Night. It's going to feature specially priced tickets and a post-game fireworks show. To purchase tickets, visit whitesox.com/Italy.
So Smoke, who smoked the ball and hit a solo blast. Smoke. It was a 2-run homer for Smoke.
And this is how it looked. Towering fly ball. Got a fastball up in the zone. Didn't get over by much, but just enough.
See, he was the 11th pick overall in 2008.
Texas for a while was stockpiling first basemen. What they did was, like Chris Davis and Justin Smoke, they traded a lot of them off to get what they felt would be stronger pitching or some other such thing in deals. Smoke was one of those guys that hasn't quite lived up to what they thought he was going to be when he came into the league. But he still has a chance, and he's still a wizard at first base.
And that's the situation right now with Bautista out. As far as Encarnacion, you want to DH him. What do you do with Smoke?
Well, Bautista's going to have to DH because of that shoulder problem. And so then Smoke plays, at least for the moment. When Bautista is able to come back and play, then you wonder about what's going to happen with Encarnacion, who has played first base. When you have a lot of production and a lot of different players coming back into your lineup, it's a nice problem to have for John Gibbons.
3-2 pitch with 2 outs here in the bottom of the third. And Smoke just struck out. After 3 here in Toronto, 5-0 Jays.
6:15 as your White Sox take on the Tigers. The first 5,000 kids, ages 13 and under, will receive a White Sox Kids XL hoodie presented by Aquafina. Purchase your tickets today by visiting whitesox.com/promos.
Here's Beckham to lead off for the White Sox in the fourth inning, getting the start tonight. Beckham has been a part-time starter, but basically a defensive replacement, late inning situations for Gillespie. Swing and a miss.
Talked to Gordon before the game about this brand new turf, and he said that he had taken some ground balls on it, and it was absolutely awful. It's got big seams in it. You can see some of those between the pitcher and the hitter, and it's very spongy. Now, they're going to play football here, and you see the very high seams. That's not a real good look at this point, but also it's not a good feel because the ball is going to come off in very strange ways. But Gordon says the ball comes off and kind of comes almost like a serpentine move.
There's a pop-up to Goins. Not only that, Steve, you know, I went on the field. They've got these those rubber black little pellets. And
let's crush tires underneath it.
Exactly.
And when the ball hits, they kick up in the air.
Yes, and it sprays around when you dive for a loose ball and whatnot. But they have not had any event in here. Any event. No concerts, nothing. So the turf has not been rolled yet and matted.
I mean, you can see how high the actual blades of artificial surface are. And we were told by one of the grounds people that when they do start to roll everything out, it'll sit down a lot better.
Quick play at first and safe. Nice job by Cabrera.
Melky gets a base hit and a big smile on his face. There's some lack of communication up the middle. But Reyes comes across, can't get it there in time, and credit Melky with sniffing out a base hit and hustling up the line. And Reyes probably thought he should have made that play, but didn't get it there in time.
So Abreu at the plate. Jays 5-5-0 the White Sox. Still looking for their first run of the evening. They've got 3 hits.
Take a look at the bounce and watch the pieces of the crushed tire bounce up in the air. Also, then the ball slows down. This is a surprisingly slow turf. That went right off the foot, so that doesn't feel real good. And
no.
A lot of people don't realize that Chuck broadcast 10 years here in Toronto with the Raptors. I could tell by the statue very close to the hotel when we came in. That was before he became a member of the Chicago Bulls family, doing a great job with Bill Wennington, and you're used to broadcasting with taller guys. That's why they paired you up with me for this brief period of time.
Well, I will say this, Steve, that you did something today very kind and generous of you that I will need to pass on to Bill. You bought lunch.
Yes.
And so I hope.
But I had to take out a loan. I didn't expect you to eat quite that much.
Those salads are so expensive here in Canada.
I thought you being a thin guy. And then you wanted salmon on top of it and 3 or 4 other things. I thought, hold on for a second.
I'm so high maintenance.
Yeah, I should have never given the credit card before you ordered.
Abreu whips.
That's a slider. And Hutchinson doesn't throw many of them, but he threw one there and he had Jose well out in front of it.
So what is Hutchinson doing to Jays hitters as far as, or rather White Sox hitters, as far as what the Jays are doing on the mound with Hutchinson?
Well, I think Hutchinson has had these kind of performances and then runs into a buzzsaw the 3rd time through the batting order. It sounds strange. That's an interesting statistic, but the 3rd time through the order, it seems like whoever he's facing, realizing that he doesn't throw that many straight changes, that he doesn't have great command of the slider, they sit and look for that fastball, and then a little something comes off the fastball, they start to hit him. We'll see if it holds true tonight, because so far he's been pretty tough.
1-1 on LaRoche with 2 outs, 5-0 Jays. So when you pitched, Steve, and you got to hitters the third time around, the order, what did you have to do specifically in the back of your mind saying, okay, I set them up the first 2 times, different pitchers or maybe the same pitcher. Did you start thinking about that the third time?
You have to. And I remember being on the same team with the Hall of Famer Juan Marichal, and he became 2 different pitchers.
When you say he became 2 different
well,
pitchers?
If he started out, he'd use his fastball and a hard breaking pitch early in the game. By the third time through the order, you wouldn't see many fastballs anymore. You would see some off-speed breaking pitches. You'd see his screwball. He had one of those. He had pinpoint control. But the pitcher that you saw the first 2 at-bats was not the same pitcher you saw for the third or perhaps the fourth at-bat.
Hutchison. And LaRoche fouls this one.
There's
off
also
the left.
something else, Chuck, that a lot of young pitchers don't realize. You get a scouting report. It says a guy can't hit the ball inside. So you face him with 2 outs, nobody on in the first inning. You go inside if you're a young pitcher. Well, that's your hole card. That's his weakness. Why go to his weakness when it's not a critical situation? Because if you keep going in there the first couple of times, you face him with runners in scoring position the third time, you go inside again. Now he's used to it.
It's a cold third strike. And the inning is over. Toronto with a 5-0 lead.
Of you have heard his voice certainly as a Bulls broadcaster. He does a great job with Bill Wennington. He was kind enough to sit in for Hawk Harrelson, who's away having minor surgery. And Chuck, happy to have you here. I know this is a place you're very familiar with, 10 years broadcasting for the Raptors, and now you get a chance to do some baseball. The ball is much smaller.
Yes, it is.
How's it moving so far?
I'll let our viewers be the judge of that. But I will say this, Steve, it's an absolute delight. I mean this sincerely as we lead off the bottom of the 4th inning. It's an absolute delight to be working with you. I admire your work so much. Of course, saw you pitch many, many times, especially for those great Oriole teams. But, no one can replace Hawk. Hawk is an icon.
And, of course, I grew up listening to you doing pre and post on those Cub broadcasts, so I'm very familiar with your work.
Going to bed with the transistor radio.
Exactly.
Yeah,
right.
I remember that guy. Thanks, Steve. What, you're throwing me under the bus? We haven't even finished the ball game yet. I love you.
Well, assuming they don't tighten this one up, we're going to have to go through our vaudeville act anyway. Yeah. So
his career with the ground ball. Ramirez over the first, one down. He's going to bring on Pilar.
Yeah, and what Robin is looking for now, along with Don Cooper, they're looking for innings out of Nuesek. Obviously, you didn't want to see that first inning happen. He should have gotten away with no runs. He didn't. It was a double play. For those of you just joining us, a double play that wasn't made. But right now, because of the way this road trip is laying out and a doubleheader in Baltimore when we leave here, you don't want to go to that bullpen all this early, and so you need some innings. out of Hector. He's got good stuff tonight. He's made a few mistakes with the fastball, but right now you're trying to get deeper into this ball game before you have to start emptying out your pen, although you get to call up another pitcher for that Baltimore doubleheader.
Here's Pilar. Nice snag by Abreu. Beautiful job by Jose. When you talk about a guy eating innings, define that for a moment. You're just trying to get through a ball game?
Well, you certainly want to hold him right where you are and let your offense come to life as you look at one squibbed off the end of the bat. Jose going over, probably going to be a foul ball, but certainly you'll take the out. You want him to get deeper in the ball game because obviously the more outs he leaves when he leaves the game, the more you have to ask out of your bullpen.
Great coverage. And they're out. Bonifacio to Abreu. So nice job by Noisi.
'31st by 4 qualifying Cooper tires from participating Cooper dealers and score a voucher for 4 free White Sox tickets. Life's a road trip. Come on, let's go. Visit whitesox.com/Cooper tires for more information or to redeem your voucher.
J.B. Shuck at the plate for Garcia, who left the ball game. And we have not received official word yet, Steve, but apparently maybe have tweaked that knee a little bit.
Yeah, the knee was bothering him coming in. I talked to him about it. He kind of gave me the waving hand as if to say it's not great. He obviously thought he could go. As it turned out, he came in, got a base hit, but had to leave.
Here's Shuck. Lazy fly ball to left. We have an out. Here for the White Sox in the 5th inning. We just received word, Steve, that Garcia inflammation of the right knee day to day.
And this is not the greatest surface for him, and I knew there might be some difficulties because after missing a couple of games, he played yesterday. And now coming here north of the border on the artificial surface, it's never great if you have any hip or knee difficulties, and so we'll see how it plays out the rest of the series.
Hutchison, meanwhile, Steve, he has pitched a terrific ball game.
So far, everything is going well. He doesn't use his slider very much. When he uses it, it's pretty effective. We're going to see a sinker here, and let's see what Alexi does with it.
It's a chopper to third. Donaldson to smoke. Steve, when you say he does not use the slider, I mean, can you tell during a ball game, especially sitting up here, as far as that he needs to mix it up more, or he's relying on a certain pitch, or hitters waiting for?
Yeah, right now he doesn't really have to do anything different than he's doing. When he's throwing his sinker, the Sox are beating it into the ground. He's thrown some high fastballs by the hitters. The hitters will tell you when you have to make an adjustment. Right now it doesn't appear that Sox hitters are on much of anything that Hutchinson is throwing. So you just stay right there. And that's one of the things a veteran catcher can do to a rookie pitcher. Got him in a good groove. You don't change very much when he's going well. That's the worst thing, and that's why if you have a rookie pitcher, you like a veteran catcher. If you have a rookie catcher, it's tough if you have a rookie pitcher, because then both guys are kind of feeling their way. Russell Martin was brought here specifically to help guys like Drew Hutchinson and keep him on the right track. And there's a perfect slider.
Right on cue. 1, 2, 3 for the Jays. Back with more from Toronto. All right, Chuck, thank you. I love that optimism. And it's 5-0 Toronto.
Our Chuck is nothing if not optimistic.
Yes. You know, Chuck helped out Comcast during the NBA playoffs, did a fantastic job. Reyes foul ball off to the left. And you know, it's tough coming in midway in the season, and all of a sudden you need to, you know, learn the nuances of the NBA. And
well, it's a lot easier to come in the middle of the season in baseball and learn the nuances of this game, Chuck. I mean, you're doing a terrific job. This is not an easy job, and there are some who would say, because of the lapses and the time frame, that this is probably the most difficult sport to broadcast, especially for the play-by-play man. So I think you're finding, although you did this last in 1979, that it's not all that easy.
Yep. Just like that, 5-3 Beckham to Abreu. You know, you spoke of 1979. I was what, 12, 14 years old when I called the game for the Columbus Clippers. Only kidding. You know who was on that pitching staff for the Clippers?
It was a Yankee organization, but I have no idea.
Don Cooper.
Was he really?
Yes.
And was he one of the stars of that team?
No.
No? Oh, Coop's going to be really unhappy when you brought this up.
But you... we love Coop, but I mean, you know.
Now don't try to back out of this. So, what kind of pitcher was Coop?
You know what? He was very good coming out of the pen.
Because he's telling guys that he was wonderful.
Here's Donaldson. The fly ball to center. You know, that 79 ball club. You know, the first baseman was Denny Worth. His son, Jason Worth. The shortstop was Tomaso Garcia.
I actually played with him. Amazingly enough. But as far as Worth is concerned, his son is probably treating Dad handsomely.
Yes, and worth, no pun intended, a lot of money. Encarnacion at the plate. 2 outs here. In the bottom of the 5th, 5-0 Jays. White Sox still struggling offensively.
Hector has come back and made a very nice comeback after a tough first inning. He gave up the home run to Donaldson in the 2nd, and other than that, he's held him right there. So the 75th pitch on the way.
Encarnacion putting together a terrific season. As we mentioned, 3rd in homers. And this is not a fluke, folks. He has been doing this for a number of years.
If he was able to play a full season last year and it was interrupted by an injury, he would have hit in the neighborhood of 45 home runs.
I agree. 1-2 pitch. Just outside. And you wonder, Steve, back in 2009, I know we're going back 6 years or so, but when they made that trade for the Reds with Roland, they were probably, Cincinnati wanted to just outside again. We're at 3-2, probably short term. Roland moving over to Cincinnati. And
well, that was an example of trading some of today for a lot of tomorrow, because Encarnacion was still a young hitter and hadn't really gotten to the point where he has gotten to. But Scott Rowland at the time, they felt in making that deal that Rowland would put them over the top. And they were hoping that perhaps getting on a natural surface would help the knees of Rowland. Rowland's always been a team leader. He was when he came up with Philadelphia.
Another ground ball to Beckham. And the inning is over here in Toronto. Let's see if the White Sox can get some runs. We'll be back from Toronto. As our Sox look to leave Toronto on a high note, coverage begins at 11 a.m. with White Sox pregame live, presented by Lexus of Orland and Maryville on CSN Chicago. Bonifacio will step to the plate here in the top of the 6th, and the bunt, and Bonifacio beats it out. Now, Steve, when you see this, is that a case of the turf?
That's exactly what I just talked to John Walgren about. I wanted him to show it again because the ball actually backed up, and that is a product of the turf. So it hits, it slows down, actually backs up, Hutchison has to go to it barehanded. Now, odds are overwhelming. He probably wouldn't have gotten him, but it made it more difficult with the new turf. You see it almost like a wedge where you get a lot of backspin, and it turned into a base hit.
And this turf, by the way, is AstroTurf. It's the new, quote-unquote, AstroTurf. But, having seen the turf here in Toronto, it was a very hard surface, Steve.
And it will be that way again as they roll it down, as they pick it up to play football and roll it down and pick it up again for other events and roll it down. But they're expecting, or would like to think, that they could have a natural surface here by 2018.
Really?
Yeah. Now, that being said, we'll see how that works.
Adam Eaton at the plate.
It's time now for the AT UVerse Multiview. As you can see, we've got the view from first base. This is Daryl Boston talking it over with Bonifacio. And the center field shot of Hutchison facing Adam Eaton. And this is the third time through the order. Let's see if it is indeed the charm for the Sox.
Eaton struck out swinging in the first, flied out to left in the third. Sox with a runner on, nobody out here in the top of the sixth.
Hutchison was a full-time starter last year, going 11-13 in 32 starts. He's a 15th round draft pick of these Blue Jays back in 2009. So when you get a starting pitcher throwing as well as Hutchison can throw, and you get him in the 15th round, that's a combination of good scouting and a lot of determination on the part of Drew Hutchison.
He was the opening day starter here in Toronto. Adam Eaton with a lazy fly ball. It's in foul territory. Not only that, Steve Hutchison underwent Tommy John surgery 2 years ago.
With the emergence of better and better surgeries, teams now don't mind any of their pitchers, especially their youngsters, going through Tommy John surgery, because they know when they come back, they're actually going to come back stronger. I think the alarming thing, Chuck, is that we're seeing a lot more guys now having the Tommy John surgery for the second time.
Beckham at the plate, singled in the first, popped up to second in the fourth. The Jays also have a young pitcher, Marcus Stroman.
That was a huge loss.
With an ACL.
Yeah, that was a huge loss.
In spring training.
I know. I
during the drill.
Talked with John Gibbons about it, and he said, our starting rotation was thin, but we counted on Stroman to be one of the top of the rotation guys. And when he went down, that took a thin rotation and put a whole lot more pressure on it. Then they had to start mixing and matching. And so we saw Stroman last year. He looked unbelievable. This is a guy that had top of the rotation stuff, great breaking stuff, good control, a lot of poise, and gone for the year.
Here's Beckham. 1, 2. everything in their service to our country. And Steve, I know I can speak for our entire White Sox family. We want to thank all the men and women serving our country home and abroad, the families, of course, and those fallen heroes. And, you know, again, we thank you very, very much.
And make it a safe and reflective Memorial Day.
Now, SC has retired 10 straight, Stephen.
He's really calmed things down from the early going, and I think what we're seeing is a whole lot of adrenaline burn off because he was missing with his fastball, although it was a whole lot faster than we've seen when he was a starter the last time in the rotation. Now he's starting to hit his spots and he's keeping the ball down, making some good pitches with his slider and doing exactly what Robin and Don Cooper wanted him to do after that early 4 spot in the first, is go deep into the ball game.
5-5-0 for the Jays. No runs, 4 hits, no errors for the White Sox.
Sox have grounded into 2 double plays, and they're second in the American League behind only Detroit in grounding into double plays. So that's an area that Robin's going to take a look at, and I know you don't want to make any major adjustments, but if you have the personnel to do it, an occasional hit and run takes you out of those double play situations. So that was a high strike that Noesi didn't get, and Russell Martin, who was called out last time on a pitch that looked like it was out of the strike zone, this time gets the benefit of the call.
So Colabello at the plate now, with the Jays having a leadoff runner on.
He had a big base hit in the first inning. He drove in a pair. They were the first 2 runs of the ball game, giving him 12 for the year.
Ground ball, nice stab by Beckham. 1, 2. Gordon Beckham, gorgeous.
That's one of the best double plays you'll see. Gordon Beckham diving to his left. This looked like a base hit. He's able to snag it, and then quickly Bonifacio makes the turn. Gordon gets up, gets it to him right on the money, and Bonifacio up and over the top past the sliding Russell Martin, and a quick double play.
So Smoke, who had a 2-run homer in the first at the plate, the 3rd time of the ball game, struck out in the 3rd. You know, you really appreciate seeing great defense. I know a lot of baseball fans love those 10-8 ball games and home runs and, you know, bases clearing doubles. But there's something to be said for good old-fashioned pitching defense, Steve.
Well, I think right now Sox fans would love to see a 10-8 game with the Sox on top. But that being said, Gordon Beckham has really molded into an excellent swingman. And as a defender, doesn't matter where you put him, he gives you a big effort. He got a base hit tonight. He's made a couple of really good plays. That last play was an excellent play. And when it left the bat, looked like it was going into left field. Instead, it turned out to be 2, and that will make your pitching a whole lot better.
And Smoke walks on 4 pitches.
Bring your family to the ballpark for Family Sundays, presented by the University of Chicago Medicine Comer Children's Hospital. Tickets start as low as $5 and parking is just $10. White Sox and Comer Children's Hospital teaming up for kids' health. Purchase your tickets today by visiting whitesox.com/Sundays or calling 866-SOX-GAME. So we've got a meeting at the mound as Don Cooper comes out. He realizes that although it's only the 90 pitch mark, the Wesley has taken this game deep. He wants him to keep his concentration. He wants him to retire Carrera, get out of the inning, turn it over to the offense. And as we look ahead in the top of the 7th, it'll be the heart of the order: Cabrera, Abreu, and LaRoche. And if anybody gets on, J.B. Shuck. So if you can get out of this inning and keep the 5-run deficit, you got the heart of the order to try to chip away.
Guerrero singled to left in the first, grounded out to short in the 4th.
Scott Carroll starting to loosen up in the bullpen, although he's starting slowly.
One, 2 outs here. Bottom of the 6th. Jays with a 5-0 lead in the first of 3 games here at the Rogers Center. Night game tomorrow, afternoon game on Wednesday, then off to Baltimore. It's an interesting road trip, Steve. You look at what's going on here. Toronto trying to make inroads in the American League East. Then we're going to be in Baltimore for that makeup twin bill.
That's another team that hasn't gotten off to near the start they thought they were going to. Bear in mind, Nelson Cruz was let go, and Nelson Cruz is
17 homers.
Having a terrific run at it. So, you lose a couple of guys. Nick Markakis, a longtime fixture in Baltimore, he's gone. He's off to Atlanta, and Nelson Cruz is gone. You got Matt Wieters is not back yet from the surgery. There was a lot of offense taken out of that Baltimore lineup, but the Orioles are a pretty good team.
Ground ball to second, over to Abreu, and the inning comes to an end. Nice job by Noesi. We'll return in a moment right here from Toronto.
Mark Buehrle is tonight's T-Mobile game changer. We take a look at the career numbers. Earlier this year, he won his 200th game. He's 204 and 156. ERA of 3.84. 470 starts, 30 complete games, 1,806 strikeouts. The opponent's batting average, probably indicative of a guy being around the plate quite a bit. What a career for Mark Buehrle. And in talking with John Gibbons about him, he just echoes the sentiment that everybody who has ever managed him says he's a dream to manage, a wonderful teammate, and what a pitcher.
I echo your thoughts, Steve. Just a professional player in every sense of the word. In the community, on the ball field.
And he goes out there and takes the baseball, and that's what you're looking for in pitchers these days. Regardless of how it works out, he takes the baseball, doesn't miss any starts. It's been remarkable. And year after year, you can count on Mark Buehrle. He's going to win in double figures. He's going to give you 200 innings. I mean, you can go all the way back.
Steve, he's had 14 seasons of 200 or more
go
innings.
Back to
14.
2002 for his run of 200 innings.
That's going to retire Cabrera. He's had 4 Gold Gloves. He's a 5-time All-Star. Talking about Buehrle.
Well, you asked me a question before the game, and you asked me if I thought that he was a Hall of Famer.
Yes, I did.
And right now, the numbers don't support that. But the way he's been going along, you never know how long he's going to pitch. I mean, Jamie Moyer seemingly threw to he was 100, actually late 40s. But if Mark Buehrle decides that he wants to keep on pitching, you never know where those numbers could wind up. But games over 500, the amount of years of 200 innings plus, the durability he's shown, and the fact that he's made a lot of friends, he might have a chance later on.
Abreu flies out to left for the second out of the inning. Just a footnote to what you're saying, Steve, on Burley. On the mound twice in 2006 for triple plays. Here's a little trivia for you, and the dots connect on this one. The only other pitcher in Major League history to be on the mound twice in one season for triple plays, Washington's Bruce Howard. Bruce Howard was property of the White Sox along with Denny McLain. They had an intra-squad game, and they kept Howard, the White Sox did, and let Denny McLain go. And, of course, the rest is history, with McLain winning 31 ball games in '68. Fouled off to the left. And
Bruce Howard had that kind of stuff. I mean, his stuff was overwhelming, and then he got hurt.
Well, you know what? My mom taught Bruce Howard. Did you know that?
Well, how could I?
There you go. No, my mom taught Bruce Howard in Norfolk, Virginia.
In fact, I have a whole list of people that your mom taught that I didn't know about.
It's a little trivia here. I mean,
it's great. It's like you know, the 6 degrees of separation from Kevin Bacon. Did she teach him also?
Swing and miss. No, but you know what? Bruce Howard began his career with the White Sox. He was traded to the Orioles in a major trade. I think Aparicio was in that deal.
They used him well.
We're going to have John Walgren check on that. But and then in his career with Baltimore, he did not do well with the Orioles. He got traded to the Senators for Fred Valentine. Now we're going way back.
Really? And do you have any Ted Lyons stories?
No, I do not. Here's a ground ball to first, unassisted. Smoke will make the putout. That'll do it. We'll be back in Toronto. Welcome back. Chuck Swirsky along with Steve Stone. We are in Toronto, and we are in the bottom of the 7th here with the Jays holding a 5-0 lead. 5-0 for the Jays. No runs, 4 hits for the White Sox. Kevin Pillar at the plate, fouled out to the catcher in the first. Soto in the 4th fouled out to Abreu. Jays got 4 in the first to start this game off. Reyes led off with a double, and then the damage started. Smoke with a 2-run shot. Ground ball deep to short. Ramirez. And they got him on a bounce.
Good play. And Alexei knew that backing up, and he had to back up because of the hop off this new surface, that a one-hop throw without his inability to plant his feet would get there quicker. Now he's backing up. He can't take a step, so he bounces it across, and it just barely gets there in time. That was a good play.
He's going to bring on Ryan Goins. Goins struck out in the second, grounded out to second in the fourth inning of play. Final, Texas has beaten Cleveland 10-8. And don't look now, folks, we're going to see the Rangers next week, and their bats have come to life.
We're also going to have Josh Hamilton back in that lineup. But the Rangers are scoring a lot of runs, and today Detroit lost to Oakland 4-0. Kansas City also lost. They were murdered by the Yankees 14-1, and Minnesota finds themselves 2 games back after beating Boston 7-2. And anybody that could have predicted that on Memorial Day the Minnesota Twins would find themselves 2 games out of first place in the American League Central, they would be lying to you.
Yes.
But Minnesota looks like a solid team. They're getting some decent pitching. Ricky Nolasco is 5-1 with that win today.
2-2 count. You know, the Yankees scored 11 runs in the first 2 innings of that ball game, snapping a 6-game slide. Yankees relievers, Steve, they are tremendous. They're starting pitching a little bit shaky.
You could do a whole lot worse than Miller and Betances at the tail end, and they can use them interchangeably. Miller, the left-hander, they got him, and that's another guy Baltimore lost, and a lot of people were surprised that Baltimore didn't go a little harder after Andrew Miller.
Think about the players the Orioles have lost this offseason. I mean, you lose Nelson Cruz. And one of the reasons Cruz signed with Seattle, he loved hitting at Safeco.
They also moved the fences in. That helped.
Just a little bit. Bonifacio to Abreu.
In the meantime, we really have to talk about Hector Nuese in that.
Yes.
He shouldn't have given up any runs in the first inning, but let's go beyond that. He gave up the 4, he gave up a home run in the second, and then he's come back and thrown the ball exceptionally well. I mean, this is going to not look like a great performance. It really is a very good performance, especially after not making a start since May 9th. This might earn him another one. We'll have to see, but I think that Don Cooper is going to be really happy with the way Hector's thrown tonight.
I agree. You know, after the first inning, he really got into a nice groove, Steve. I do agree with you, and he has showed me something with this poise.
Well, it's to be expected. He got a couple of pitches up, and he was overly strong. We expected that after a 3-week layoff in between starts. But since then, he's kept the ball down. The slider has been good. He's getting ground balls, which is something that for him is essential. And by and large, he's kept the ball in the infield since the top of the 3rd inning.
2-1 pitch. Reyes led off the ball game with a double, then a couple of ground outs to Beckham at 3rd and the 2nd and 5th respectively.
And since starting the 3rd inning, only Donaldson has hit the ball out of the infield. And that's a pretty impressive performance as we are here in the bottom of the 7th.
So just like that, Reyes strikes out. And we'll be right back from Toronto.
5th at U.S. Cellular Field. Take home a piece of White Sox history, including game-used equipment, jerseys, hats, and much more. Entrance to the garage sale is free. For more information, visit WhiteSoxCharities.org.
So we go to the top of the 8th. Chuck Swirsky along with Steve Stone filling in for Hawk Harrelson. I'll be with you for a week and a half. No one can really fill in for Hawk. I'll do my best, Steve, so thanks for putting up with me. I haven't called you Bill Wennington yet, though. That's a good sign.
No, and you've got to work on your offensive broadcasting because so far it's been a shutout.
Yeah. So, in other words, if the White Sox get shut out, can I come back tomorrow or not?
Well, you can. I mean, you can actually in this
game. You want me to buy a ticket?
The best thing about this game is that there are redeemers. And tomorrow night can be one, assuming they can hit the knuckleball, because R.A. Dickey is going to pitch.
J.B. Shuck, his second appearance at the plate, flied out to 5th. Javi Garcia started in right field, and then he inflamed that right knee, going back to first after he reached safely.
Tomorrow night is going to be Johnny Danks against R.A. Dickey, and Wednesday afternoon, Jeff Samardzija against Marco Estrada.
Chuck with the runner right to the left fielder, Pillavella. So Alexei coming to the plate. Steve, you've been on teams where they're hitting the ball out of the ballpark. You've gone through stretches where you've seen ball clubs really struggle. Robin Ventura shuffled up the lineup tonight. Ramirez hits a fair ball. Long peg, got him.
Well, Donaldson made himself into a terrific third baseman because as a catcher, it wasn't a natural move to third, but he just got better and better, and right now he's one of the better third basemen around.
Steve, for the most part, when organizations decide to move a catcher to a position, what position do they normally put that player? Does it depend on
It depends on the catcher, number one. Depends on how athletic he is, but we've seen a lot of catchers move to first base. In the case of Joe Torre, who was a catcher and a pretty good one and a Hall of Fame manager, he was a third baseman, a first baseman, and a catcher. In the case of Craig Biggio, who's a great player, he was a catcher, a second baseman, and a center fielder. You don't find that combination all that often. So we see catchers moved a lot of different places. Bryce Harper was a catcher, and I talked to Mike Rizzo when they drafted him number 1. He said he won't catch for us because I can only catch him 130 to 135 times. I want him to play every day. He's going to play the outfield for me, and that's exactly what's happened. And this year he's having an all-world year. Could very well be the MVP before it's over.
Dale Murphy was a catcher, but he couldn't throw the ball back to the pitcher.
Became a Gold Glove center fielder and an MVP 2 years running.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. Soto, who flied out to center field in the 3rd, took a called strike in the 5th. Also, dating myself again, Mike Ivey of the Padres, he had that similar problem where he couldn't throw the ball back to the pitcher.
And they made him a first baseman.
Yep.
Yeah, my friends told me, and I didn't see him because I was too young. They said he was a terrific player.
Soto swinging the miss. He struck him out for the second time of the ball game. Still the bottom of the 8th. Jays in front.
Miller Lite, and our Miller moments involve the pitching of Hector Noesek. He gave up the 4 runs on 4 hits early, and then he pitched unbelievably well. Turned out to be a very strong 7. The home run to Donaldson in the 2nd inning. After that, he gave up absolutely nothing. Not 1 hit after the Donaldson home run with 2 outs in the 2nd inning. So he gives way to Scott Carroll, who comes in on for the 8th time. He's 1-1, his ERA 2.76. And he's there to hold him at this 5-run deficit heading into the top of the 9th.
So the Jays will go with Donaldson, Encarnacion, and Martin here in the bottom of the 8th. Almost hit him as Donaldson skips out of the way. Carroll allowed a 3-run shot to Dozier in the 7th inning of yesterday's ball game. That was the homer was the first allowed as a reliever since June the 6th of last year.
Last year he had some problems as starting pitcher, but out of the bullpen he was magnificent. And early in this season he's been very good out of the pen.
Ground ball up the middle. That's a base hit for Donaldson. So Donaldson with his 2nd hit on the night. He also homered in the ball game.
Hey, White Sox fans, your official team store, the Chicago Sports Depot, features the latest in Sox apparel and souvenirs. Stop by the Chicago Sports Depot located at Gate 5 to get your authentic on-field merchandise and support your favorite hometown teams.
Encarnacion at the plate, grounded to 2nd in the 1st, flied out to center in the 2nd, grounded to Beckham in the 3rd. Beckham has been sensational tonight at 3rd base. You always want to take something positive, even though you may end up losing this ball game. So you got to look for Noesek. I think you can take something out of this performance.
Noesek, he was very good after the 1st inning. Again, we talked about there were 4 pretty much gift runs, but after that he was very tough. And you can also look at the defense at 3rd base with Gordon Beckham, who's been brilliant down there. So Encarnacion has had a tough night. He's grounded into 7 double plays this year.
Here's the 0-2 delivery. San Francisco beat Milwaukee this afternoon 8-4. The Mets over Philadelphia. You know, in that ball game, 42-year-old Bartolo Colon. It's an amazing story, Steve.
It really is.
It really, I mean, 42.
Especially
getting it done.
When you consider that he throws probably 85 to 90% fastballs. It's one thing to see an older player, an older pitcher especially, trick you, where he's got either a terrific slow curveball or maybe he's got a great splitter. But with Bartolo, it's fastballs and pinpoint control. He is 7-3.
0-2 pitch coming up. Donaldson at first. Abreu holding him. Also this afternoon, Colorado beat the Reds. Cincinnati, Steve, has lost 9 straight.
The Reds have been a very disappointing team this year. They really don't have much of anything going in any area except for Johnny Cueto.
A ball and 2 strikes on Encarnacion. 5-0 Jays. Runner going. The foul ball down to the left.
There's an example where you've got not actually a prolific base stealer, although Donaldson is 2 for 2. But you're in a situation where you know the guy at plate really can't run. So you try to stay out of the double play by sending the base runner.
Do what John Gibbons elects to do now. 1-2, nobody out. Well, Steve, we often hear it, instead of a hit and run, a run and a hit. As far as, was that that example there where the runner just takes off and you know, you have a situation where you don't really mind whether or not the hitter's going to put the ball in play as far as an opportunity to get an extra base?
Well, all you're trying to do there is stay out of the double play, anticipating that he's going to get something to hit because Carroll is around the strike zone a lot.
2-2 with nobody out.
But you have your number one hitter as far as grounding into double plays. He should have grounded into his 8th in the first inning. Didn't work out that way, but ground ball from Encarnacion. It's going to be 2, and Gibbons wanted to stay out of it.
Hooking foul off to the left. Nobody out here in the bottom of the ninth for the Jays. Close. 3-2.
I think a couple of very surprising things as far as the Sox are concerned is they're last in the league in stolen bases.
9.
Second last in the league in walks. Last in the league in runs scored. But there's even something more surprising as he draws ball 4. And that is that this team is last in the league in home runs, and nobody could have predicted that. This is a situation where they're just not hitting the ball out of the park. And so it's been very tough going offensively, and Robin is trying to do what he can. He shook up the lineup here tonight. Hasn't produced anything to this point. You can only do so many things with your lineup. You put Cabrera in the 3 spot. Unfortunately, Javi Garcia, who had a base hit in his only at bat, had to leave the game because of his tender knee, and that certainly doesn't help the offense at all.
So the Jays with runners at first and second with nobody out here in the bottom of the 8th and a 5-0 Jays lead. Russell Martin at the plate. Martin grounded out the 3rd in the 1st, took a called strike in the 3rd and walked in the 6th. Martin with 7 overs, 23 RBIs, hitting .273 in his first season in a Jays uniform. So Steve, now with the 0-2 count, what do you think Martin is looking for?
Right now you don't look for anything. Right now it's very much a defensive at bat, and what you're looking is to try to put the ball in play. The pitcher's in control here. You want to make some contact, and unless you just get something that's late in there, middle in, you're not thinking about a home run. You're thinking about trying to hit a line drive someplace, but it's a defensive at bat.
1-2.
Russell knows he has tomorrow off because R.A. Dickey is going to go, and Josh Thole catches R.A. Dickey, but he'll be back on Wednesday afternoon for the finale of this series. So he'll play 2 of 3 games.
1-2 pitch with nobody out. Ground ball. Ramirez. And did they get the force? Yes.
Turned out to be a decent piece of base running by Donaldson, only in that he waited around on what was a routine double play ball, and he appears to have obstructed the vision of Ramirez. Makes the backward flip, gets the force out, so no error, but it should have been 2 and wasn't. So runners at the corners and only 1 out.
Chris Colabello, who singled into center field. That was a 2-run single in the first. Fouled out to Abreu in the third. Grounded out to Beckham in the 6th.
Here's our Xfinity high-speed action replay, and a spectacular play by Gordon Beckham. A chopper makes a quick throw to second base. A great turn by Bonifacio and a double play. Great effort.
Very well done. One ball, no strikes, 1 out here. Jays with runners at first and third. Scott Carroll on in relief of Hector Noesi. Really settled down after giving up 4 in the first. Catches the inside corner.
Colabello looks back at Andy Fletcher and says, wow, that is a sizable inside corner.
You know, managers hold little mini conferences with the writers and the broadcasters, Steve, about 2 hours prior to the ball game. So John Gibbons is in his office, and a reporter says to him, "Hey, are you surprised that Colabello is hitting like 380?" And John Gibbons looks at him and says, "Yes."
Yeah, I mean, there's not much that you can say.
No.
You could say, I am surprised he's not hitting 400, but that probably would be disingenuous. Sometimes you pick up a veteran player, and Colabello is one of those. You send him down the minor leagues. You give him an opportunity to fight his way back. You get an opening because of an injury, and it just turns into gold. And that's exactly what happened as they gave an opportunity to Chris Colabello.
Outside, and it also plants the seed, I would believe, for John Gibbons, saying, you know what, I like this kid, and the fact that I'm going to keep him around in some capacity when we get healthy.
Well, one of the things that is going to aid him is that the guy they looked at as their everyday center fielder, Dalton Pompey, didn't do it up here, and he's not doing it in the minor leagues, so they're not calling him back probably anytime soon. That opens things up even when Bautista comes back. You at least have one more position in the outfield, and the way Colabello has swung the bat, especially, I mean, you thought of him for a while with Minnesota. You thought of him as a specialist against left-hand starting pitchers.
Now, was he a DH first baseman with the Twins?
Yeah, he was a guy that would play when the left-handers would start, and so quite obviously the Sox had a lot of left-handed starters. We saw a lot of Colabello.
2-2, 1 out. Cross over the first. We touched on this briefly early in the ball game regarding Michael Saunders, who suffered an injury in spring training. Suffered on a sprinkler, tried to come back, but John Gibbons says he's not going to be ready to return for another 6 to 8 weeks.
No, he's another Canadian player that they got from Seattle. And Saunders is one of those guys that did everything well, never quite hit the way they thought he would. Terrific outfielder at all 3 positions, but again, there's the opportunity because Saunders was counted on to take one of those outfield positions after he got hurt. They had to mix and match.
So an opportunity for the man at the plate, Chris Colabello. 3-2, that's the count with 1 out here in the bottom of the 8th. Shallow fly ball off to the right. Runners hold. We've got 2 out now. He's going to bring on the first baseman, Smoke. Smoke with a 2-run shot It came in the first inning of play as the Jays scored 4 in the first and had one more in the second. That's where we stood with a 5-0 Jays lead. 5-6-0 for Toronto. No runs, 4 hits, no errors for the White Sox. Smoke walked back in the 6th. Sandwiched between the home run, the walk. He struck out in the 3rd. Carroll with his 25th pitch in relief. Takes a cold strike.
Smoke is a switch hitter who gets almost all of his at-bats from the left side of the plate.
Outside, he made a great play yesterday, Steve, in the Sunday afternoon affair against Seattle with a great stretch at first base. I mean, he's a big man to begin with, but nonetheless, you get quality at first base playing defense. It can save you a lot of trouble.
The defense has really never been his problem.
Runner going. Hit and run action. It's going to plate. And the Jays have added the score now to 6-0. Nice piece of hitting there.
3rd run batted in for Justin Smoke. He gets that off-speed pitch out away. Again, another run that was literally gift wrapped for them on a double play that wasn't made. So by our count, that is 5 of the 6 scored by Toronto. Should not have scored.
That's that old cliche, Steve. You can't give a team extra outs.
And when you're going poorly, and the Sox are that, every time you open the door, the opposition makes you pay. And that's exactly what's been happening. Plays that aren't made, the opposition finds a way to score some runs. This one could have easily been a very close game, and it's not. It's 6-0. But it's been a very generous Sox team tonight.
Ezekiel Carrera at the plate. Single to left in the first. Couple of ground outs to short and second, respectively, in the 4th and 6th. 6-7-0 for the Jays. No runs, 4 hits, no errors for the White Sox. Two outs here in the bottom of the 8th. Runners at first and third. 2-1 the count. We're here at the Rogers Center, just a couple of blocks away from Lake Ontario. Took a nice jog today. Saw Steve Stone with his yacht. Very nicely done, Stephen.
It's hard to get it up here in time from Chicago.
Two and one.
This ballpark, compared to where they used to play,
CNE,
is a massive upgrade.
Yeah, we'll talk about that during the course of the series. That game tomorrow afternoon on Wednesday with the Blue Jays and the White Sox back in '77.
Starting their history against the Sox in a first game that was snowed out.
Jays looking to make the postseason. It's been a long time, folks. It's 93. A hit on the ground to second. Bonifacio to Abreu, and that will end the inning. But the Jays pick up a run here in the bottom of the 8th and lead 6-0.
35 times on 2015 Assurance MLB All-Star Ballot at WhiteSox.com. Voting is exclusively online and available on your computer, tablet, and smartphone. Vote early and vote often. Help select the starting lineups for the 2015 All-Star Game. Vote at WhiteSox.com now.
So we go to the top of the ninth here in Toronto. We have a new left fielder, Steve Tollefson, coming in for Colabello. Bonifacio with a swing and a miss and foul. Bonifacio got the last hit. Is that right, Steve?
Yeah, it was a bunt single leading off the 6th inning, and Drew Hutchison is trying to complete just his second Major League game. It would be his second shutout.
Swing and a miss. He's retired 14 of the last 15 White Sox.
He's also used only 92 pitches to get to this point. That is Burley-esque.
So, Steve, how much of this, I don't want to take anything away from Hutchison, how much was this about the pitcher or the White Sox batters?
I think a combination of both. I think it always is. You get a guy throwing strikes, you get a team that doesn't walk, and it's a bad combination if you're not hitting the ball, and they're just not squaring anything up. Hutchison's been that good, and I think Martin's done a great job behind the plate.
It's a routine 6-3 play. And the White Sox are down to their final out. So Gordon Beckham at the plate. Crowd of 15,168 here at the Rogers Center. They're averaging the neighborhood of 26,000 per game. Beckham singled in the first, popped up to second in the fourth, grounded out to third in the sixth, but he has been spectacular tonight at third.
I would say defensively the star of the game.
Absolutely. The ground ball up the middle. Reyes. Ball game over. So the Blue Jays shut out the White Sox.